It's not an election. It's a farce. And the result is already known. I don't know how you can talk about popular sovereignty as the dice has already been thrown.
It's soaring unemployment and exploding food prices that have sent his popularity plunging. The opposition say the vote was rigged and they will reject the result.
Let's go to Doha now and join Amel Boubacar. She's non-resident German fellow at the German Institute for International and Security Affairs. Amel, thank you for being with us. As you heard from that young Algerian in that report, a lot of cynicism regarding this election result that's just been announced, 81.5% for an incumbent who never appeared on the campaign trail. People saying Algeria is frozen in time, and yet, you argued in a piece that was published for Foreign Policy why this election is nonetheless a watershed moment. Why?
Hi. Yeah, indeed. I mean, it's a turning point because now we are going to see several challenges. Several challenges are ahead for the regime, for the people, for the opposition, and even for the international community. So this consecration of the first mandate first, very importantly, that's the end of a facade democracy. That's people were celebrating even yesterday, the victory of Bouteflika. So election won't mean anything in the future. Institutions, ideologies, everything. This is really the end of an old system, and the birth of a new one.
But did even Amel? Let me ask you. The last time there was an election, he won with 90%. There was just as much cynicism.
Yeah, but the thing that are going to change now is that first for the regime, Bouteflika won't be able to rule on his own. Physically, he won't be able to finish his fourth mandate. So they are going to be obliged to install a new configuration. Will that be with the chosen successor? It doesn't really matter, actually, because they are obliged now to rule over their traditional revolutionary legitimacy, the arguments of foreign interference. We have seen throughout the campaign that Algerians are not doing that anymore. Even people who have voted for Bouteflika have not done it for ideological reasons. They are not convinced by the fact that Bouteflika has a good program. The majority of them, they do not know anything about his program, and very few elements have been communicated to the Algerian public anyway. But the thing is that I think we are going for the regime. We are heading to more corrupted clienteles. Corruption is going to be on the rise in order to maintain the regime's clientele, but also more in falsified promises. Because I don't know if you have seen it, but the main, the central point of Bouteflika's or his staff campaign was to have promised, unbelievable things. So there's a danger of very much unfulfilled promise. And there's also the question for the regime of what will be the role of the security. The elections, we should not focus only on the elections to understand how Algerian people do stand towards politics. The elections was only something formal, and the election of Bouteflika is not a surprise for the majority of the election of the Algerian.
But Amel Boubacar, let me ask you on that point.
Yeah, sure.
We in the debate that we had on Thursday about this, countless people we've spoken to, our correspondent in Algiers, they all say that even though the population of Algeria is very young and maybe doesn't remember all the events that happened in the past, they're still scarred by those blood years, that civil war that claimed the lives of nearly 200,000 people. And they say, look, let's just stay out of politics.
I do not agree, because they are indeed frightened by police repression. This is a country where when you denounce corruption, you're put in jail. This is a country where even the diet people vote, and if you do not agree with that, then there's a violent repression. We should not forget it. But this is also the end of the post-Civil War consensus about not showing public dissent, because there was this kind of consensus between Algerians. If I show publicly that I do not agree with my neighbor, for example, or with my brother, then then there's a risk to go back to the 90s. But if you go through within Algerian families, people are talking freely. They have various views, and there's a common consensus now about the fact, even for people who thought that Bouteflika equals stability, they all said, okay, third mandate, that was maybe a bit too much, but we agreed. But now it's too much. I mean, a fourth mandate has been something that has been unlocked, really. And you will see that you will have more riots. I mean, riots for personal rights, not riots against political ideologies, but in order to ask for basic human rights, to get a job, to get water facilities and so on. They are going to increase. So this is really the end of something. I mean, both at the regime level and within the population.
All right, Amel Boubacar of the German Institute for International Affairs with a grim prognosis of what lies ahead for an Algeria that nonetheless, for the time being, gets 97% of its exports from oil and gas. I want to thank you for joining us from Doha. You're watching France 24. Much more to come. We'll have all the day's business and sports news coming up in the next half hour here on France 24.